Think of a symptom, any symptom that's bothering you. Headaches, insomnia, fatigue, anxiety. Think about how that impacts your life and how things would be different without it. How would things look if you were able to release that? What would become possible? Maybe it's as simple as changing your orientation and thinking about things in a new way. Let's talk about that today. I was born to heal. I grew up as a small child knowing that I wanted to help people be healthy and well. I just wanted to help people. I was a good student and a hard worker, so going to medical school came very naturally. And I worked hard. I wanted to study and learn, not just because I was a perfectionist, but because I really wanted to help people. Even once I was in practice, I read about my patients' conditions for hours in the evenings at night. I'd call the ICU at 3 a.m. with new orders and new ideas on how to make people healthy and well. And that dedication or service got me 3 board certifications and on the best doctors list, but it also came with a frustration too. There were some questions that just couldn't be answered. There were some problems that I wasn't able to solve. For example, why would a room full of people be exposed to an illness and yet only some of them get sick? Or why did anxiety run in certain families? Or why was it there that were some people that were just so incredibly tired? I can't even tell you how many 40-something-year-old women came into my office feeling tired, exhausted, desperate to be healthy and well. As a new doctor, I would check their thyroid, make sure they weren't anemic, check for vitamin D deficiency, evaluate them for allergies, sleep disorders, and at the end, when it was all normal, they would leave my office still feeling tired. That was really hard for me. I was in this to make people healthy and well. A few years ago, I experienced that medical ambiguity firsthand myself. I started experiencing a number of health inconveniences. First came arms that fell asleep while I was sleeping, waking me up all night long. I tried a new pillow. I had my neck evaluated. I tried changing sleep positions. Nothing. I also woke up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night all the time, which I thought was normal for someone in their 40s with 5 kids. I decided I needed to start exercising. Those efforts resulted in a number of injuries, and with those came physical therapy. I joke with my patients now that the great thing about having a doctor in their 40s is I've experienced most of the injuries that they have. But there came a point in time when things changed. I developed thoracic outlet syndrome, a condition where the nerves going from my left neck to my left arm were being pinched between my collarbone and my first rib. It was excruciatingly painful. I had really limited use of my left arm. I saw the top-notch specialists. They did test upon test, and the leading theory was that I had down-sloping shoulders as a result of short first ribs, and that was causing the pinching. I did everything that was offered. IV steroids, occupational therapy. I even had this crazy sling that I had to wear under my clothes. I was desperate to be well. I understood the crankiness that came from chronic pain and chronic illness. I struggled with the not knowing of if or when things were going to get better. I went for my first massage at the age of 40, previously thinking the massage was just fluffy self-care for those who had nothing else to spend their money on. It hurt terribly as the trigger points were released, yet I felt relief after, and I went back. At one point, the massage therapist said, rounding forward of your shoulder in Eastern philosophy means that you're trying to protect your heart. My doctor ears perked up because I knew that rounding my shoulder forward was causing part of the problem. But even more so, there was truth in his words. It was then that I started exploring the effects of trauma on the body and learning all of the various modalities. First, I used what I learned on myself. I haven't had an injury in years. Then came family, friends, neighbors, then clients, and now it is natural for me to want to share what I know with you. As human beings, we are blessed with mind, body, and spirit. The mind, of course, contains our thoughts, our logical, rational thinking. It also frequently contains false beliefs, imprinted from long, long ago, things that we've grown up believing to be true. The body, for many, is seen as just a vehicle to sort of transport the mind or the head. Others see it as a complete nuisance that's giving them physical or emotional pain. I see the body as an important aspect of our whole. It provides us with messages and is the messenger that shines the light and points us to the next step on our path. The spirit, of course, connects us to the most authentic part of ourselves. It is the most authentic part of ourselves, connecting us to all of humanity and connecting us to the divine. Through spirit, we can access inner wisdom, inner guidance and knowing, and our intuition. Knowing that we are able to take that next step, fully support. Mind, body, spirit, they all play a very important role moving forward. Modern life in American culture values doing through distraction and bulldog determination. We've been accustomed to stuffing or burying our emotions over there and putting one's nose to the grindstone. Think of an experience where something terrible has happened and you don't want to feel sad or angry or scared. So what do? We stuff it over there and get a new hobby. The problem is this just isn't sustainable. This kind of approach only works for so long because emotions are processed in the limbic brain and they're stored in the body. When an experience exceeds our ability to cope or process the emotion in the moment, the body saves it for later. No lesson is going to go unlearned. And emotions that are stored in raw form for later, you know what those are? They become physical and emotional symptoms and disease. So if one has exhausted all of the options on the body level or the circle, could it really be as simple as looking at the square or the triangle? I think that it is. As I pieced together my research, my personal experience, and my experience as a physician, I came to develop this truly holistic and integrative model of health and wellness. In this model, I now see trauma or conflict as the root cause, leading to energetic disturbances effect, and ultimately physical or psychological disease as consequence. So let's start at the root, and let's talk about trauma. Trauma is defined as an experience that surpasses the body's ability to cope in that moment. A distressing, painful experience. Most people think of trauma in terms of the big T kind of trauma. War, abuse, torture, horrific things. And that is traumatic. But when we expand our definition to include the broader perspective of trauma, we realize that we've all experienced trauma many, many times. Now, most people won't acknowledge or admit to having experienced any trauma. They see that as a sign of weakness. And yet, by dismissing or burying the trauma that has occurred, we turn away from the message offered by the body and we subject ourselves to more. Trauma activates the limbic system, the emotional part of the brain, and trauma makes the prefrontal cortex or the thinking, rational part of the brain go completely offline. It also impairs our ability to communicate. Understanding the body's response to trauma is key to understanding your own health and wellness. So if trauma or conflict is the root, The effect is energetic disturbance. Energy flows through our bodies and our nervous system all the time, generating thoughts, generating actions, taking care of all kinds of processes. When trauma disrupts that energetic matrix, sluggishness and stagnation and excess activity can occur, really wreaking havoc with the energetic system. The effect of that becomes physical or psychological consequences. Western medicine works great on that end of the spectrum. Once there's a diagnosable disease, it has little to offer for those that are in the root cause or the effect part of that continuum. I actually see physical symptoms now as a gift. I've learned to track my own physical symptoms and understand their meaning. For example, when my left neck gets sore and tight, I know that my fear of not being good enough is active. As soon as I look at where that might be showing up in my external world, and I lock on to where I'm feeling that way and shift that pattern, the pain goes away instantly. I had a similar issue with skin breakouts. My skin breaks out when my boundaries are violated. As soon as I look at the situation and figure out where my boundaries were violated and what role I played in allowing that to happen, my skin clears up. So symptoms are messages from the body. We have the choice whether or not we receive the message, digest it, and move on, or whether we allow it to continue. And for those who are plagued with lots of symptoms, eventually the body screams louder until its message is heard. Each time the body screams and we don't listen, it gets the message that it's not important, that it's not valued, that it's not heard. And it will take that message further and further until we hear it. Shifting this paradigm will shift your health. In this culture, we like to micromanage everything, particularly related to our health and wellness. We have a headache, so we take a pain reliever. We have heartburn, so we take an antacid. We are tired, so we drink caffeine. We can't sleep, so we take a sleep aid. Instead, what I would encourage you to do is to go back and look at the root cause. Think of it this way. If you had a tree, you wouldn't run around treating individual leaves, right? That would be crazy. Of course not. You would go to the roots and treat the root, and all of the leaves would transform. That's what I'm encouraging you to do. Stop looking for the miracle cure to make you well. Stop looking to micromanage individual details, and instead go to the root and transform your whole health and wellness. Mind, body, spirit integration truly requires connecting deeply to yourself. I encourage you to look at all aspects of the whole, mind, body, spirit, and connecting to yourself and creating ultimate health and wellness.